Right, well, hello everybody, and welcome to another one in a series of In My Experience videos where we talk to successful Indian entrepreneurs from a wide variety of different product categories who have lessons that they can teach to entrepreneurs and students, people who are looking at perhaps moving into the luxury arena. As always, we're hosted today by Shreya Agarwal, our good friend and luxury brand specialist. And today we're joined by Bharat Singhal, who is I think you're CEO, founder of Bili Hu Coffee, is that right? I like to get the titles right.
Yeah. Title is strong, but though we're not such a big corporate with multiple definitions.
I'm glad to hear it. As long as I get your name right, I'm okay.
Yeah, as long as I can retain that, I
will. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And I know that you've got such a beautiful brand and amazing story that will inspire people who are going to watch this video and hopefully give them some quick tips and techniques along the way so that they can avoid any pitfalls, but also know about the highs and the lows, which are inevitable in any entrepreneurial journey.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So with that, thank you very much, and over to Shreya.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you always for a lovely introduction. And thank you, Bharat, for joining in and taking time out to actually have this conversation with us and make it happen. So why don't actually we start with your story? You know, it's quite interesting when I was going through your profile, you know, this entire journey of from you becoming an environmental designer to then becoming the founder of a coffee brand. So how did this journey actually happen?
Right. So, you know, when we talk about environment designer, it means virtual and physical environments. Could be TV sets, could be retail, could be exhibitions, events, anything. So, my grad is in retail and exhibition design, wherein we would study businesses, their strategies, their potential, and then design either virtually, physically, whatever was required. That is when this was back in 2011. That is when I came across a project in coffee, so I was never a coffee drinker. Okay, I was always into more flavored milkshakes and juices and all of that. And came across a project in coffee wherein I learned that, you know, coffees are so much more than a cappuccino. Like, I did not study cappuccino at all for like 6 months. It was a 6 weeks project, went on for 6 months because I was so intrigued and I was so interested, you know, then others also supported that, okay, you should do what you're doing because you're doing a great job. So, okay, continue, we'll give you more time and, you know, we'll clear it out. So that way, you know, during the research of this project, I got so intrigued that coffee is agriculture first and cappuccinos much later. And that is a philosophy that I follow till date at Bili Hu, wherein, you know, the agriculture bit is in the forefront and cappuccinos are talked about much later. So that is also how we pitch our product. That is also how we understand our product. And that is how also I transfer the knowledge to others. At Bili Hu, I started Bili Hu in 2017, though I went and studied coffee for a bit, like a crash course situation in 2014. So after 11, I thought, okay, this is interesting, but I was intimidated because, you know, it's all science, it's all a lot of biology, a lot of physics, a lot of geography. And I got intimidated that, okay, I don't think I can do this. And I went to design school, right? So I wanted to continue design. So I was working with an architect, I was doing freelance work. 2014 is when I thought, okay, I should pick this up and probably learn more about coffee. Back in the day, the investment required to get into coffee was massive. And again, I learned more science there. And then I was like, okay, this is not happening. I'm intimidated. And plus, it needs this kind of funds. So I can't do anything. Okay, let's get back to business. So I went back working, you know, with an architect and continuing my freelance on the side because I've always been a hustler. And then in 2016, I left my job and I was working on a lot of hospitality projects. So every time a project would open, and then, I would have that FOMO that, damn, my product is not there. I don't have anything, on the shelf or in the restaurant. Of course, it's done up by me, but then there's something missing. And then maybe if I had my coffee, it could have been here. And just that thing was at the back of my mind. So even when we were doing like graphics for the restaurant or the pub, I would pick out coffee related stuff and then just read and understand. Then in 2016, I left that. I procrastinated, to be honest, for about 8 months. I did not do anything at all. But I told the entire world that I'm doing something in coffee. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing something. So I had my own presentation. I had my project report, everything obviously lying with me for so many years. But it took me a lot of self time, whatever you may call it, to understand and actually take the plunge. And how did I take the plunge? Now, this is a very competitive market. It's also a market wherein youngsters were not so encouraged back in the day, to be honest. So, it's been dominated by, the entire industry is dominated by families that have been growing coffee, that have been selling coffee, roasting coffee for so many generations. Like most beverage products, whether it's wines, whether it's teas, these are all generational businesses.
Right, yeah. There's family into the picture. Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting in Darjeeling, you would know.
Yeah.
But so obviously it is a little intimidating, and I did get intimidated. But then I took my time and I understood, okay, what is the niche that I want to carve exactly? I still wasn't sure, but I took the plunge. I got a project for a wedding order in Coorg. Now, it was a Coorg wedding. Coorg is in the down south of India near Bangalore. So they said, okay, because we belong here, the expectation would be to gift coffee. So can you do something for us? So that is when I bought my first bit of equipment and machinery and packaging and all of that. Very small quantities, just to ensure I complete the project. And then, okay, another 2 months, I did this in Jan. 2 months again, I started working on the costs. Now I understand, okay, what packaging costs, what stickers costs, what everything else costs. And I got myself a machine, which was like a couple lakhs. So then I said, this is a back-end machine, not the coffee machine per se, the grinding and all of that. So then in March, I remember I sent out pitches to different restaurants, just blind pitches. Okay, so I don't know the restaurant doesn't know me, and I'm just sending them these funny boxes without branding and saying that, and a handwritten note that, this is what we're doing and blah, blah, blah. And a nice printout. So yeah, all of this went, and this restaurant in Jaipur reached out saying that, hey, we really like your coffee. What's the price? So okay, we discussed everything worked well. Then this gentleman, he calls, he's like, this is great product, why isn't there market? I was like, okay, this is great. All of that aside, first tell me, why did you choose us? He said, I just tasted your coffee. It was really nice, suited the price also. So, I mean, I'm paying like 150 rupees extra, but I really like the product. You should be here. I said, okay, great. But I literally asked the client, like, why are you choosing us? Like, it was a cold call, literally. So, yeah, that gave me a lot of confidence. And since then, I realized that, okay, this is something that I can look at, like something that also interests me. So I took that one client and tried to service it really, really well, put all my energy resources into that. And then I realized, okay, what else I can do? And then we went to hotels, restaurants, cafes, pan-India. Today we are growing at some of the best award-winning boutique hotels, some of the most luxurious hotels in the country, in the world, some of the best restaurants. And yeah, it gives me immense pleasure to have Bili Hu being brewing at all of these places.
What a great story. That's amazing.
All right. That was actually quite interesting.
And
what
I find really, really interesting in that is that the sort of the highs and lows of your confidence, and then being intimidated, and then, no, I'm going to go for it. No, I'm going to go. And I think anybody that's thinking about setting up their own business understands and kind of
absolutely
recognizes that for themselves. And that, the lack of the confidence side, we always talk about that as being also a lack of knowledge. And when you've got knowledge, you get confident. And
Right.
so you gathered more knowledge and you became more confident.
Oh my God, how did you pick that up? So just last week, I was telling my colleagues that, guys, please write this down in your diary if you wish. But if you don't learn about the product, you will never gain confidence.
No.
Right.
There we go. I wasn't listening, honestly.
It's like, I just love the bit where you mentioned that for 8 months you straight procrastinating, like not doing anything. And I feel like that happens at everybody's life when you are beginning something.
Absolutely all right.
It's absolutely all right. It's absolutely all right to take that space and just research and just be and just think through it. And then the one break when you get it, just do it the best possible way, and then you kick wherever you want to kick started with. So that's a lovely story.
When I started, my products were completely different. The approach was different. And then slowly, like today, what we offer in our portfolio is also very different from how I started. So, I wanted to do drip bags that latch onto your cup. So I got this consignment done from Tokyo, I remember. And they sent, I sent them 10 kgs coffee, they ground, packaged and sent it back. This was all in personal name so that, we don't have to suffer the government costs and this and that. And I started without, obviously, day one, you don't register your company. You first see, if it fits the market, if you can actually do it, if you have the potential. So all of that. So like even the first order was directly to a personal account, just to understand that, can I do this? Right? I didn't get softwares for billing. I didn't do all of that. I didn't have accounts with logistic partners and all of that. So coming back to the point, this drip bag is something that I started with. I did cold brew blend was my first coffee, and I would sell it in 200 gram bags. So you have to immerse it in water and then filter it. So a little tedious and all of that, but more pure. Then I realized, okay, what is my calling? Is it only building a product and selling it, or is it something that will also satisfy my creativity every day? So then I chose consciously to become a purist. So from convenience to being pure. And today I'm at a stage wherein we are going back to convenience, but not back to convenience, but like an additional product in our portfolio. And it's very difficult. I mean, I'm stressing on it every day, how to keep both the things separate and not mix the two clientele, not to mix the two products. We'll figure that on the way.
Sure, Bharat. But throughout this process, you started with the brand, right? How did you actually come up with this name, Bili Hu? Because I've never heard about this, and it's not. It's got a story behind it, I'm sure. So, what was the reason behind you choosing this name?
Right. So it's actually not Bili Hu. Bili Hu is okay. I mean, it's an English pronunciation, but in a Kannada pronunciation, which is like the language spoken in the state of Karnataka, where coffees were first grown in India, like 220 years prior to teas in India. It's a tribute to the coffee crop. Okay, so like I said, agriculture has to be in the forefront. So it's actually Bili, you have to twist your tongue and add the R in the L. So it becomes Bili. And the Hu is a little stretch, so like H-O-O-O-O or H-U-B-U, like Hu. So these are different pronunciations there. And yeah, it's a funny name. It's a very catchy name, I thought back then.
It is, yeah.
I started the business and I started to tell people that, I'm calling from so and so. Then it became a little funny. And then I was like, oh, should I change the name? How will people take it? And blah, blah, blah. Then my friends sat together. We made some jokes on it. Then I got some confidence. I'm like, okay, it's okay. Like, as long as people are talking about it, I'm all right.
It's come from a place which is relevant, which is great. We're managing it by calling it Bili Hu. It sounds like someone's name, but actually,
so I'll tell you the story. What does it mean? That's a Kannada word for white flower. Okay, so the white flower is the coffee blossom. It signifies the coffee blossom, and that white flower itself. Okay, the petals wear off, and the bud becomes a fruit. So the fruit being a red cherry. So inside the red cherry, there are two coffee beans. So
Okay.
it's the true origin of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
So all over the year, blooming happens, let's say in March, February, March, April, and the harvest happens at the end of the year, so like October to February.
Mm.
But through the year, they're only like green cherries or red cherries, or like from green to maroon, so or yellow, orange, and red. But at the beginning of the year is when the farmer sees if there are enough flowers on the stem, they'll keep the stem, otherwise they'll chop it off.
Mm.
So flowers are the white flowers, the Bili Hu
The
is
origin of the
celebration, it's the origin. It's extremely important to the farmer. If there are not enough flowers, it won't give you enough fruits. So why to nourish it? Why to nurture it through the year?
No flowers, no coffee.
Yeah.
That's great. Love that.
That's
So
actually he's put in a lot of thought in that. That's the beauty of the naming when we talk about how important the brand name is. So you can
also,
then tie it back to the story.
yeah, we have these conversations, right? It's so important we have these conversations, because let's say somebody is standing in front of you, or even if you're just looking up coffee and then you're like, what is this weird name, or what is this funny name? Does it have anything to do with cats or whatever? That is up to everyone's perception. But the point is that we have these conversations that coffee comes from a crop. So literally on my visiting card, if you flip the card, there is a picture of the flower of the crop, not of coffee beans, not of espressos, not of cappuccinos. There's a picture of the coffee plant, and it doesn't read that it's a coffee plant. The point is that you talk,
Beautiful.
you ask, or you read, either. But
Nice.
you should have that aha moment.
That actually is a aha moment. That's true. That's actually very nice, Bharat. When I was going through the website, also what I was reading that the brand kind of originated, understanding that there is not a lot of coffee brands in the market. So apart from this, what was your brand purpose? If we talk about Bili Hu, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, what exactly? I didn't get it right. I'm going to practice it the next time. So what exactly would you say is a brand's purpose?
Right.
Apart from understanding that there is a lack in the market.
Right. So the purpose is that, we have such a massive agricultural wealth in India. Most of it was not available to Indians in India. It was only meant for the export markets, and we would typically get like the lower grade, trashy coffee, so to say. Politically incorrect here, but yeah. So then the point was that we highlight these farms, their post-harvest processes, talk about traceability, which I feel is extremely important today's
Right.
day and age, not just for what you're consuming, but also what you're putting on your skin, on your body, everything. We must know where it's coming from, who's the farmer, are they paid well, are they being looked after?
Yeah.
The fair trade bit comes in, and yeah, basically get some of the really fine, good coffees and highlight where they're coming from to Indians in India.
Yeah. And are there any subscription services for coffees like we have here? I mean, Packed Coffee is one of the ones in the UK. I know my husband's a complete devotee and a coffeeholic. Do you have any of those in India that you service?
So we do, we don't have a subscription service of our own, but there are these brands, coffee platforms that put lots of coffee brands into one basket and then send it out to people as a subscription model. So there's one with LBB, Little Black Book. There's one with 16 grams. There's one with Bean Deck.
Okay.
These are all platforms which house multiple coffee brands.
Okay.
But
yeah,
we don't have
Pact isn't kind of a multi-brand. They are a brand, I think, of their own. But what they do and what you're saying in terms of traceability really resonates with that, in that they just talk about that particular community and that particular blend for that month's coffee, and everybody who orders a coffee gets it from that. And it's a lovely story. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I was reading one case study while I was, getting intrigued with this entire technology of blockchain. And there was this entire case study that they'd done on this particular coffee brand, which spoke about the traceability of coffee. who's actually making your coffee, where your beans, originating, and the entire process, what you're drinking in your cup. So when talking about traceability, I think it's no mandatory requirement now. Like you need to have it. Like there's no questions asked. You need to know where your product is coming from.
Not just that, like, okay, your product as a consumer, but even as a grower, um, a farmer doesn't know, a rice farmer doesn't know that a Sanjeev Kapoor of the world
Is
is
drinking, yeah.
making biryani with it or something like that, right? So that is the state of agriculture in India. I mean, farmers don't know where the produce is going. It's typically a farm
It's
to
a state
exchange.
with the artisans also. The artisans don't know what they're producing, where it's been born.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. So traceability both ways, like, all our farmer plantations, partner farmer plantations, they they're aware of exactly what we're doing with their coffee, where it's going. Even if it's published in media, we send them the links. We inform them where we are taking. I mean, we speak. I mean, we meet once a year, but we speak through the year, and yeah, we exchange notes. It's always nice. So sometimes we go back to them and say, okay, this client wants something different with the existing bid. So next year let's plan it in advance and let's do something nice with the way you're processing your coffee and things like that.
this thing I think is very important, what Bharat is talking about. I feel like when you make the artisan or the producer part of that process, right, that's where you're motivating people to actually do good work. Otherwise, if you eliminate, which usually what happens is when the middleman comes into the picture or the producer comes into the picture, these people don't have much say in it. So they feel like they're part of just one bit where they're producing and that's it.
Right.
So the creativity aspect, and it's it's terms of coffee as well, or the craftsmen that we look at now, in terms of the embroidery artisans, the creativity nudge needs, it just goes away because then it becomes more like a mechanical, just hand to mouth kind of a work. You're doing it for the buck that you're earning.
Right. Now, something very simple, Ashriya. Let's say if I tell you you're going to meet the queen, you would put all the necessary effort in yourself. You'll do 1 month of prep on yourself, right? So if I tell you that your product is going to the queen, you would put in all your heart and effort into making that product, versus just sitting on an idle day and making your product and thinking yourself.
Yeah.
Eventually, it goes to the queen and it goes there. You don't know about it.
You don't know about it.
Yeah.
I was doing a lecture for a university over here a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that came out was the invisibility of the craftspeople is contributing to a lack of respect, because you can't respect what you don't see or what you don't understand if all you get to see is that end product, which quite often has got made in Italy or something put on it because they put a button on or something. And I think it's that building of respect is so important, whichever area you're in, and we have to raise that visibility to get that.
Yeah. And it has to happen both ways, no? From the consumer side and from the person who's making.
I agree. Yeah. So, Bharat, when you started, creating this brand, I'm sure you had a vision, right? You want to place a brand as a premium product, or would you want to take it again a notch higher later on and create it as a luxury product, right? Obviously, the product iterates, your brand vision iterates over the time, right? But as I also, know that you do collaborate with luxurious hotels. The hotel chain has been part of it. So how did that positioning factor come to your mind in terms of placing your brand? So was it like a collaborative effort that you chose, for visibility, or was it a thoughtful decision in terms of, okay, I want to place my brand in this particular segment, and that's why I chose this particular route?
Right, the latter. The latter. So it was never that, oh, accidentally I'm here. It was a very fixed agenda. Back in my presentation in 2011, I had exactly these logos in my presentation. I wanted to get here in all these events, all these clients, in all these places, and we've done all of that. So I'm quite happy and satisfied that way. But yeah, coming back to the question, it was always the purpose that I need to place my product here because this is the audience I want to cater to.
Right.
rest everything we'll figure on the way.
Mhm.
So I'm also, I have my own pace. Okay, we are now 4.5 years old. We'll turn 5 in May, April end. So we're still not a huge brand in terms of numbers and all of that. We're still very, very niche. We're still known by word of mouth, and the who's of the country, the HNIs of the country drink our coffee and recommend it to their friends. Further, uh, the purpose is that, when you're going to a luxurious experience like this, you experience Bili Hu, which in turn becomes, I mean, you perceive it as a luxury product.
Right.
uh, I don't know if I'll be able to build a brand from these placements, but at least I can have that tasting done, like to get
Right.
a Ratan Tata or a Kumar Mangalam Mehta to
Visibility.
have your coffee. uh, People would probably have businesses running around and they're okay, let me get your product to be sampled by them. Here they walk in and they pay for it and they have it. uh, so it's the other way around also.
Right.
Also, I was saying one more thing. So I always knew that this is the customer I want to cater to, and this is the way. I would the investment required to this is my learning on the way. The investment required to reach that status would be ridiculous. So let's latch on to the existing market and the people who cater to that market and leverage that.
Mhm. It's
That's a
very
very
smart because by association you become luxury.
Yeah.
And obviously, you're part of a really enjoyable experience that they're having in the fabulous location. So you're going to be remembered positively rather than negatively. So
Right.
it's a smart way of doing it. Absolutely.
it's basically the brand association, very you need to have the right association
Yeah.
with your brand.
Yeah.
But
That's
we
how
also
you
massively work on the product and the experience we offer, because I don't know if you're talking about this, but luxury to me personally is all about service.
Mhm.
uh, Somebody is spending their time, effort for you, even
right.
if even if they're doing pottery, they're spending their time and effort for you.
Mhm.
uh, so yeah, it's very important how they experience our product, and that is something we really actively want to work on. Some people give us a free hand to do it, some people say okay, we have standards, follow that. So
Mhm.
either way, we try and put in as much as we can. And for the first time in India, we got, you would have seen whiskey trolleys, you would have seen gin trolleys, and of course champagne trolleys is such a thing across the world.
Mhm.
These are all alcoholic beverages. For the first time, we're doing something in the non-alcohol space, wherein we got coffee trolleys and consoles across, hotels like the Uday Vilas in Udaipur, Lake Palace in Udaipur, Raffles, Umaid Bhawan, Jodhpur, and yeah, the likes of these. So absolutely high-end luxury resorts, even the Leela, which won the best hotel, the most luxurious hotel in the world last year.
Mhm.
uh, so the point is that, when you're experiencing our product, which is just barely a cup of coffee, you're also getting all of that service around you.
Right.
So we have these beautiful consoles placed there wherein you can see different roast levels. So how green beans, how we buy it from the farm, in 12 minutes, there's 6 stages of it displayed. So you can actually see, go, touch, feel, smell the product in its immature stage
Mhm.
to the final stage.
Mhm.
And then there's a QR code that takes you to the blog, about Indian coffees. Then there is, and it's all done very stylishly, nicely, I'd like to think. And the entire service bit is so beautiful, and the people serving it are trained enough to speak well about what they're doing.
Very important. Very, very important.
One more thing that I learned during my entrepreneurial journey is that every day I'm not only teaching my customer, I'm also teaching my own team. As a leader, as a entrepreneur, you're only teaching your team uh, how to do everything better,
Mhm.
and keep them motivated at the same time.
Mhm.
So, like this one time in Taj in Delhi, I actually took videos of the staff talking about the coffee just so that they set an example for the next. So we trained about 30 of these people, and at first they were like, no, you can't do this, and doesn't go with the hotel policy, you can't record. I said, no, I'm not recording. The camera is on so that you become very conscious, but still you're able to talk about it, because maybe somebody in front of you is sitting and you need to talk about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
The storytelling always has to be about what amuses you. Every single day we do things that amuse us, right? And it makes us happy. I mean, silly things also to work also either. I mean, this works both ways. So I think storytelling is only about telling everybody what amuses you. So let's say uh, one little example I give you. So if we're explaining a coffee brewing process to a customer, wherein we are brewing coffee in a pour over, which is a method wherein uh, you put coffee powder, water, and it drips down, right? Like a drip filter. So when you're telling the customer, you will obviously start with talking about where the coffee is coming from, where it's grown, what variety, what post-harvest process is conducted. And then you move on to, I'm sorry if it's getting too technical,
No, it's
but
great.
Go ahead.
but then it comes
Buying
down
for a
to
coffee
how
now.
how you tell the customer, okay, there's a lot of science to it. So we're using 20 grams powder. Now this guy opens a sachet. So I'm going using 20 grams powder. There's a pour over cup. There's a filter paper, and then he attaches a filter paper. So everything that he's doing, he or she's doing, they're talking about it. So now I'm going to pour water in a circular motion so that all the coffee grounds get wet. So while everything is happening, now it becomes like a instruction for yourself also.
Right.
So you don't forget um, that okay, I have to pour water in a circular motion. And why am I doing that? Because so that the grounds get evenly wet. Little things, but it also works so well for the customer and for yourself to just experience all of this.
It's all about taking through that experience. The cup of coffee then becomes a story that you've been taken through.
Mm.
So
Comes
that
back to
actually that
service.
cup of coffee becomes yours then at the end of the day. You have that experience that you're taking
And then you
backward.
tell someone else about it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is great.
Also, when you're sipping, you're like, oh yeah, this is what he was doing while making the coffee.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this temperature I'm using. So he knows that, okay, the kettle, when it reaches 92, I have to pick up the kettle. So he'll talk about
Mm.
it. I'm bringing it in 92 degrees. So they also become your SOPs. They also become nice. They also become, of course, SOPs first, because that is how we want them to brew it.
Mm.
So that first, and then, of course, the story bit and the experience bit follows.
Mm. Amazing.
But you've taken us to this experiential bit. There are so many points that you spoke about that this is what I've learned. Like if I had to tell you, like, why don't you sum up like three best learnings that you wish that you'd known or while starting the brand or you've learned over the years? Any top three that you would want to share with our viewers?
Yeah, one is taxes for sure. It kills me every day. Yes. Second, yeah, my pricing wasn't right this way. Even distribution, oh my God, the margins, the commissions. My pricing in first year, my everything, pricing, quantities, packaging, everything was so different in the initial years. In my first 2 years rather. I've been working on it thanks to lockdown. Not thanks to COVID, but thanks to lockdown. That I got that time to work on so many things in the back end. Getting nutritional value done for all our products, getting certifications done for everything, for the company, for the product, for shelf life, for everything. And I understood how all of that is important. But to be honest, when starting a business, I did not look into anything. I just wanted to test myself, the product, and the market, everything. So that is how I started. So a lot of errors also I did on the way. So of course taxes were one thing. I didn't account for that. Pricing was another part of the same topic. I didn't look into how many commissions we'll have to give, so many deliveries, so many returns also that we might have to take. So then what policy can you build, all of that. Then differential pricing is something that I'm actively working on now. So all of these things I didn't start with. It's only after 4.5 years that I'm like, okay, now that we are in it for the long run, let's work on all of this.
Mhm.
Because I feel a lot of us waste time in doing too many technical aspects in the initial years, and then it gives us a bit of a blow. And
Yeah.
it's also boring as a creative individual for me to do all of this, but I'm doing it now because uh, I can. Also, I can hire and help get that help.
Right.
So I can sit with them and like understand things better.
Mm.
So that is where I am. And another thing that I wish I'd known would be uh, stories have to be altered for different people, I think.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's say if uh, coffee is such a sensitive topic, oh God, it's very personal to people, right? I love my coffee, or this person makes the best coffee for me, or I will go to his house to have that coffee. It's a very personal, emotional thing. So a lot of times people tell us, okay, you don't tell me about coffee. I'm like, okay, yes, for sure. Then the story changes, the narrative changes. Um, yeah, but just handling different temperaments.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah,
Basically,
that's
human emotion coming to play. Have to be sensitive towards that.
yeah. I don't get me time at all.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But just this actually is quite interesting, Helen, when we talk about human emotions of how brands need to understand this. And I always, I love talking about cultures. Like Bharat, even in India, we have diverse cultures, right? And there are different emotions driven by these different cultures. So we need to be very sensitive as brand. How do you want to approach it? And I feel like once you do that, that kind of makes your brand more relatable
Mm.
and acceptable to people also. I'm not sure if that's something we've come across, Bharat, but at least that's what I feel.
No, no, 100%. So just now, before coming online, I was in the office and there was a conversation with a conference call with my team, and this gentleman wants to buy a coffee machine. Not a coffee machine, rather, he's buying the machine, but the grinder. The grinder is such an important aspect because you might have the best beans, the best machine. If the coffee powder is not consistent, if it's
Mm.
not perfectly ground, if it's not an even grind, then of course the extraction matters a lot. It changes. So I was trying to explain to him how the grinder is so important, and it's so difficult to tell that person because this gentleman runs a nightclub, not one but three. So
Mm.
to explain to him that now that you're shifting your focus, they're probably very well off. Everything's fine. They're opening multiple restaurants, nightclubs. They've been doing for years. Now they want to get into coffee, but he's not understanding that 40,000 rupees extra that you pay is so important.
Mm.
And just give it a shot because like coffee machines last you a lifetime. So how do you explain to him that you know um, you have to put in that little extra money to get a better product
Mm.
which will stay with you for life, and then we can play around. But if we don't invest in, let's say, the right product to work with, then you don't also have the freedom to play around. So
Right.
but then do people want to play around? Maybe not everybody. Maybe somebody just wants to stay the same. So
Mm.
then that was also important for me to understand, okay, what is your future vision for your
Right.
company?
Right.
And that is how then I understood his story and then sold him something completely off that
Listen.
we're discussing.
Yeah. It takes a lot of listening.
This
So it's
yeah. On that note, Bharat, it's actually been a beautiful conversation. Now that I actually want to try that cup of coffee, and I think I need to get out of my village and then come to Delhi to have that cup of coffee. But leaving on the one advice that you want to give somebody who's um, wanting to start their brand or are already in this journey of creating brands, so that what would that one piece of advice be, especially in this niche luxury premium market?
I don't know if I'm qualified to give that advice yet, but
No, or anything that could be your personal advice.
yeah, I think you just have to be persistent and passionate about what you're doing. Uh, yeah, no product is good or bad. They're all different.
Mm.
And yeah, I think just be passionate about something so you'll never see anything in a negative light. Uh, I love every coffee. I drink every coffee on the streets, in the hotels, everywhere, um, because the passion is for coffee.
Mm.
So it's something I want to pursue for life. Persistence as well, because I mean, look at what we've all gone through in the last 2 years. Uh, Hotels, restaurants, cafes contribute to 95% of our revenue.
Mm.
They were all shut
Yes, for a long time.
for a long time. And I did have my lows that time, but then I knew exactly what I wanted to do. By I think 10th of April, we had this massive campaign online, uh, which was just like 20 days into lockdown. Uh, I picked myself up. I thought I'll open a champagne on 31st March. That was the plan, 2020. And I got calls from my friends and family that, you were so excited. And I was like, I'm sorry, but nothing can happen. Uh, yeah, but then immediately in 10 days, we were ready with the campaign and we went all out educating the world about coffee.
Mm.
We couldn't sell coffee because logistics was shut,
Mm.
office was shut, everything was shut, supply chain was affected, it was shut. So
Mm.
we went on talking about coffee.
Mm.
So if you actually scroll down on our social media everywhere, so even the blogs that you see on our website, it was all done during those 10 days of April.
Mm.
And then, yeah, by the time people saw, people made a note, they started ordering coffee, logistics was open, supply chain was back. I think being persistent, being calm, and constant in your approach, I think that helps. Also, pivot. Also, do not waste too much time
Mm.
on things that are not under your control.
Iterate when you have to. On that beautiful note, thank you so much, Bharat. It's been a wonderful conversation with you. And I wish you all the very best with the brand.
Thank you so
Anything
much.
that you would like to add, Helen?
Well, thank you. Yes, from me too. I mean, it was.
Taking notes. Let's see.
I've been
Yes,
taking
Helen
lots of
always
notes.
does that.
I always make lots of notes. I can't read them afterwards, but
First day of everybody in my office, we have what, 6 people in the office, that's it. But I give them a diary. I'm like, this is a stack of diaries, choose what diary you like, but please make notes, because
always
without
make
them, you
notes.
can't exist.
Always make notes.
Yeah. I think your story is great, and I'm sure there will be people who find that very inspiring and also very reassuring as well, that you don't know and you haven't got the confidence straight away to jump in and do something. But if you carry on, and as you say quite rightly, the passion will get you through any of the tough times, because you're very clear about what you want to do and why it's important, and why the world's going to be a better place because you're doing what you do. And overcoming these temporary issues, no matter how awful they feel at the time, actually everything is temporary, and you can then pick yourself up and be in a better position. So I think, it's really inspirational to hear that side of things. And I love the way that you've taken the whole traceability on board, and that's something that you're really building on, and it will continue to grow as an issue. That's not going away. It's a major theme. Sustainability is a major theme. That's why we really put it at the heart of everything we talk about, and all the brands that we want to be involved in helping to create with the entrepreneurs. So, there's a lot there.
Also the
Sorry,
backwards.
experience. Pardon?
Also traceability backwards.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And it is a two-way conversation that products are.
Most importantly.
And we kind of miss that out at the moment. But all the things you were talking about with storytelling, with the experience and the learning, learning is a massive new luxury that's coming through, and people are wanting to know more and to enjoy then what they're eating, wearing, whatever it might be, because they've made a personal connection to that process. And by adding that kind of description of the process that's gone through in actually just making that coffee in front of somebody, it becomes more value added as an experience, and you'll enjoy that cup of coffee so much more. And you'll tell your friends.
Yeah. I'll just add something. So something just came to my mind when you were speaking. You're talking about knowledge and learning, right? So there are two types of customers that I've come across when I'm teaching or like talking about coffee, not like literally teaching, but let's say at an event or something, or at an interaction, speaking to this person who's traveled the world, has had coffee experiences around the world, buys coffees from different places in the world, and has homes around the world, great high disposable incomes, HNIs of the world. Oh, I love my coffee, but I never knew about this, so, and I'm just casually chatting and I'm talking about something and then telling him how to choose the right coffee for your coffee maker, and tell them, okay, wherever you go in the world, whenever you buy a pack of coffee, look at all this. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so this is one type of customer. The other customer I've seen, who knows nothing about coffee, has instant coffee, says, listen, I really like the smell of your coffee, the aroma. How do we get this aroma? This aroma that you get in Starbucks and CCT, and I get at your stall or whatever. How do I get this in my coffee? Then we teach them how to brew coffee. Without a coffee maker, use a chun, use a strainer. And that wow moment that, oh my God, I'm going to do this at home myself. Completely two different ends.
Different audience, yeah.
And but both go wow, which is such a nice feeling, only because of education. Because just
it's like we're living in this age of educated consumerism. It's so important that brands need to educate their consumers now. Because nowadays, I think with internet, people are just becoming so smarter that they want whatever they're buying, at least they should justify it. The brand should at least connect with them and justify what they're buying.
Absolutely.
So I think very, very important for brands to do that.
Sometimes we don't value our own knowledge. Just by sharing it, it can be an amazing experience for somebody. Our ordinary can be their extraordinary. And that's a really nice thing to try and convey and put for people as well in the future. So, but thank you so much for your time. I've really appreciated that, and I've enjoyed listening to your story. And well, we wish you every best of luck. It's an amazing brand. And maybe you'll come to the UK. Maybe we'll see something. We have no Indian coffee here, I'm telling you.
Yeah. In fact, pre-lockdown, there was a restaurant in London serving our coffee. The first international restaurant. Yeah, but it's called Darjeeling Express. Have you heard of it?
Yes, I have. Yes.
So Azma Khan used to take coffee.
Oh yes, I've read about her. I've watched a documentary, I think.
Yeah. She's on Netflix, Chef's Table.
Yeah, I watched that. Yes.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So, oh yes, well, I shall look forward to seeing it on the shelves. Okay, thank you so much.